Friday the 13th, Part 3 is a 1982 horror movie directed by Steve Miner, same director as Friday the 13th Part 2. And it follows the adventures and shenanigans of the one and only Jason Voorhees as he goes, this time, to Higgins Haven, a little remote getaway where teenagers die, because this is Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th to you all. Today, we're going to be talking about the third movie in this franchise. I've talked about previously parts 1 and 2, and I took a little hiatus for the past couple Friday the 13ths. I haven't done reviews on this franchise, and I'm back. I was avoiding this one because I don't know if you saw my ranking I did a few years back of the 80s run of the Friday the 13th films, but let's just say part 3 ranked rather low. I will say, however, I just rewatched the film, like literally just finished rewatching the movie. It's not as bad as I remembered it to be. However, it's not necessarily good or great. It's very average. Like, if I were to recommend a Friday the 13th movie to someone so they understood what these movies are, I'd probably recommend Part 3, because it overall encompasses what this franchise is. A little bit of sleaze, a little bit of tease, some interesting kills. However, I don't know, this one didn't have a ton going for it. Now, with that said, I do have some praises for the film. I do think there are some interesting and fun character interactions throughout the movie. Little tidbits into the glimpses of these kids' lives, so to speak. You get to learn a little bit about their personalities through how they interact. There's some funny little jokes and stuff. All of that camaraderie is what I enjoy in these movies. However, by the time you get to the third act, our lead final girl, if you will, doesn't really have a lot going for her aside from screaming. And that's unfortunate because the previous installment had a very strong final girl. In fact, one of my favorite final girls, especially in this franchise, but this one, not so much. There are some standout characters. Shelby, I believe his name is. Shelby, the guy that gives Jason the mask. Jason gets his mask in this movie, okay? And he also gets the little notch in it because the girl hits him with an axe. I thought he was a fun character. He had a little gimmick of, like, he did fake makeup and made himself look like he was dead. Then, you guess it, he actually looks like he's wearing makeup, but he actually is dead because Jason killed him. Fine. Gimmicks are okay in the Friday the 13th world. I'm cool with that. But aside from a couple of gimmicks, a couple of fun character moments, a lot of this movie is people walking around, and I feel like the crew and director are just like, Steve Miner was probably just like, just walk and look around and we're gonna have creepy music in the background. Now with that said, you couldn't really do better than Harry Manfredini's excellent score for all of these movies. I mean, his music is kind of what makes these Friday the 13th movies stand out aside from just a typical schlock slasher horror movie. His score is really powerful and always gets under your skin. It's great. But even here, you can tell that they're stretching it a bit. There's characters walking around like looking at stuff and it's like, and it just keeps going, and you know, Jason walks by in the background and you get your typical slasher fare. I did feel like Jason in this movie was a little underwhelming, a little underbaked, a little underdeveloped. His character hadn't gotten to that point yet that I really enjoy, especially like the Kane Hodder era, where Kane brings an essence to Jason. And even in this movie, Jason like shoots this girl with a spearing gun and just kind of nonchalantly walks back to the cabin. I know the intention was he's like this weird mutant hillbilly guy is out doing his thing, but it just isn't a foreboding presence, not like the Kane Hodder depictions of Jason. Like I said, there are moments that shine through the movie, but overall, it's kind of a flatline movie. It's overall lackluster in a lot of elements. I think the score stands out, but again, like I said, there are some moments where it seems to be very repetitive, with the same kind of beats to it. Not that it's bad, but it's fine. I'd say the camp itself is almost a character. I really enjoy the look of the camp, and I think some of the character interactions work. Some of the Jason scenes work. There are some interesting kills in the movie, but some of them are so plainly set up to be an interesting kill. For instance, this kid likes to do handstands. Well, guess what? Jason kills him when he's doing a handstand. Who would have thunk? And that brings me to another funny part of this movie, the 3D gimmick, because this is a gimmick movie similar to Jaws 3D, all the other 3D movies. Here, there are sequences that are made exclusively just to be in 3D. There's a kid holding a baseball bat right at the camera like that. You can tell it's just for 3D. That character is not even a part of the movie. It's just like a throwaway gag. A guy's making popcorn for no reason, and the popcorn goes right in the camera. I didn't watch it in 3D. I have seen parts of it in 3D a few years back. And it does, from time to time, play in theaters in 3D. I'd like to go see it in 3D to get the full experience. However, just watching it plainly, you can tell what was meant to be a gimmick and what wasn't. And even with the gimmicks, I don't know if that completely keeps the film on a higher level versus just looking at it as a movie without the 3D gimmick. With that said, I would give Friday the 13th Part 3... maybe a 2.5. I'd say it's like it's like between 0 and 5, it's a 2.5. It's right in the middle. It's a very typical by-the-book slasher with a couple of standout elements. Also, you know what doesn't make any sense? At the end of the movie, Jason's mom jumps out of the water and pulls the girl in. And you don't know if it's in her mind, which doesn't make sense because she's never met Jason's mom, has no idea who that character is. And if it was Jason's mom is missing her head. So how did that happen? Likewise, this character has had a past experience with Jason that we get revealed to when she's talking to her love interest by the fire. And it's done, like, in such a throwaway way, where she's just sitting there and she's like, yeah, this guy with a messed up face chased me, and you just kind of see it fade in, and Jason's running, and it's... I don't know, it feels like an afterthought. This whole thing just feels like kind of an afterthought. And you could tell that the clock was ticking on the franchise, and they're like, alright, we're gonna give it one more and then end it. But obviously, Part 4 did very well for them, and they kept it going, and here we are, well, today, and years later. So, there are my thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 3D. Have you seen it? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching. Stay unlucky, and remember, for all things Friday the Halloween, stick with Halloween, this is Hauntformer.